Welcome to You Are History, Ohio Edition, a captivating series of interviews that spotlight the influential voices and impactful stories of Black leaders hailing from the vibrant state of Ohio. In this exclusive series, we delve into the lives, achievements, and experiences of trailblazing individuals who leave an indelible mark on their communities and beyond. Through engaging conversations and profound insights, we uncover these exceptional Ohio-based influencers' unique perspectives, challenges, and triumphs, showcasing the dynamic contributions of Black excellence in the Buckeye State. Join us on this enlightening journey as we honor these remarkable individuals' legacy, resilience, and innovation, affirming that in Ohio, as in the broader tapestry of history, they are not just making history, they are history. Don't forget to like, share, and comment where you're watching.
Well, I have with me Mrs. Annie Gilliam and Adrian Gilliam Davis. Yeah, it takes me a minute. I'm a little slow. And I have known Mrs. Gilliam and the Gilliam family for. I was 14 when I was in the CETA program, and Mr. Gilliam was my first employer, and that's how I was exposed to the Gilliams. And then I would have recognized them at Price Memorial Church. And at that time, they had 2 boys and 2 girls. And Mr. Gilliam was a ball of thunder. And he had this very, very quiet, amazing woman by his side. And that was back in 1978.
You're
And
good, Tracy.
and since that time, I have had the privilege and the honor to watch them grow their family and expand and build and be family and live life and then impact other people's lives, including mine. And so I'm interviewing them because when you look at history, you look at business, you look at Black history, you don't always pay attention to it when it's close up. And I want people to know who the Gilliam family, I want you to remember who they are and what they've done and where they come from. So I'm asking Mrs. Gilliam because I don't know a lot of, I don't know a lot about her because she's always been the quiet behind the storm of the little man who was all that in a bag of chips. And he would tell you that. So this is nothing, if he was here, he would tell you that he was all that and a bag of chips. And the greater he became, the more he would tell you and let you know that he was Artis Gilliam Sr.
Right.
So, Mrs. Gilliam, help me out here. Tell us about who are these Gilliam people that were on the east side of Youngstown with this family that made such an impact on the city, and where they became. Where'd y'all come from? Y'all from Youngstown, born and raised? Did he kidnap you because you were a good wife? What?
Actually, Artis and I both were from Georgia, and but we didn't know each other there. We actually met in Youngstown, and I came to Youngstown at the age of 3. I do believe he came to the age at the age of probably 4 or 5. And it's funny, we kind of lived maybe in Georgia. We lived about maybe 60 miles apart. He was from Moultrie, that area. That's where he came from, and I was from Ocilla, Georgia. And but we met here at the age I do believe I was 14, and he was 16, going on 17. Just turned 17.
So you guys were childhood sweethearts.
Yes.
Oh my.
Yes. Oh, my is right.
So when did you guys get married? What year?
We got married in 1962. I was 17. He was 19.
and this bundle of joy of Artis Jr. came along.
Oh yeah.
Now, was Mr. Gilliam always in construction? Because when I met him, he had Artis Gilliam's construction company. He was a general
Right.
contractor.
Right. Right.
Were you guys
Well,
what were you guys doing when you first got married?
well, when we first got married, we had a truck. You know, when we got married, I tell my kids all the time, they really don't know hardship. Like in the years of 1959, 60s, 62, um, because you couldn't buy a job, yeah, not especially not for African Americans. It was really tough for them. Um, so we purchased a truck from someone, I can't even remember who, a pickup truck, and built the sides up on it. And we went around and hauled people's trash, things that they didn't want in their yards, mostly Caucasian neighborhoods, and that's how we lived. We made it, and our biggest dream. We always had a dream behind every business entrepreneurship that he and I thought of, or he thought of, because he was always thinking of something. And we always had a dream that we were going to make it big. We thought about having the biggest hauling company, since that was what we were doing, at that time, and having trucks. How you have these city trucks that pick up trash. We were going to have one of those, and then maybe get another one. We were going to be the biggest company, around town. And but that's how we lived, at that time, until things started getting better. And
At
then
that time, but the dreams kept you better, didn't they? Because you were always reaching for something.
right,
Hope was always in front of you.
absolutely,
When you
absolutely,
stop dreaming, you start hoping, and if you stop hoping, you might stop living.
right,
Because times get
absolutely,
tough, and you need to have something to get you through them.
right, absolutely. And people think that business, is easy, but it's not. It's actually easier to have a job. You can go home and forget it, sleep at night, but when you're in business, it's 24/7. You're always thinking, of what did I do, what can I do, how can I be better, how can I do better. So it's a 24/7,
There's
thing.
always a responsibility.
Oh, absolutely.
But there, as an entrepreneur, he always could have always gone somewhere else and worked for someone else. But you guys really were true spirited, born entrepreneurs. You understood, because when one thing did not work, he always would. I would see it's almost like driving a standard shift car.
Hmm.
He would downshift
Hmm.
and pull back up again,
Right,
because that's what entrepreneurs do.
right.
They just don't stop at one thing.
Oh,
'Cause if
absolutely.
you went from hauling to what? What was next?
I'm trying to think. We had a record shop. It was at the corner of that Pearl Street and Oak Street. You know where Purple Cat is now? It used
Yes,
to be
ma'am.
the Pearl Street Mission. It was
Yes,
right up
ma'am.
on the corner from Pearl Street Mission at that time, and we were always going to be bigger than Record Rendezvous. Oh, my. Yeah, everything, we were going to make it big in every endeavor.
And you did.
So,
And you did.
mhm,
You
yeah,
did.
we tried.
You
Yeah,
no no,
we
but you know what you did, because one thing, you impacted a lot of lives. That Record Rendezvous is now gone, and we don't
right.
know the person who actually. I don't know the person's name who owned that record shop.
I did, but I can't think of it
And
now.
now you can't buy a record nowhere. I got records now.
Right,
You gotta buy them at the secondhand store.
right.
Hmm.
But they're coming back.
They are.
No,
They're
but they
coming
won't be.
back.
They'll never be back like they were.
Not like
Right,
they
right,
used to
We'll
be.
right.
never
Right,
go back. But
right,
but you and Mr. Gilliam have left a legacy with your children and the impact, because when I came home, Mr. Gilliam was on the trustee board at Price Memorial, I think, or the deacon board or the steward
right.
board, one of them boards.
And he was the youngest person there.
That's not
With
a,
all those older men, he was the youngest person.
and he was just getting ready. Things were changing in Youngstown, and he was bent to change it.
Mm-hmm.
He was bent to make a dent in it, to make it better, because we lived here.
Right.
And I think I had gotten on school board or something, but next thing I knew, Mr. Gilliam had shifted gears and gone from one thing over here. He was running for city council, and it was status quo must go.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well,
And
and he ran for city council actually twice. He ran, and I can't remember what year it was. We only had boys, at that time. We didn't even have the girls. We lived on donation,
ooh,
and he ran against the guy's name was Franklin. I do believe that he was first ward councilman. We had nothing.
wait a minute.
Zero money, zero money for signs or whatever. But we just had that. He had that dream, that he wanted to change things. So he was out there.
Before I go
He
there,
was just always out there.
what are your parents' names? Who are your
Artists.
parents? No, yours.
Your parents.
Oh, my
Your
parents.
parents. What your
Well,
parents' name and your maiden name?
well, you know what? My maiden name was Spoonie. It's a very odd name. Usually, if anytime we went to a new city, that's when they had phone books. We would always look in the phone book and see if we saw another Spoonie, in there. And it usually would be like Spooner, but never a Spoonie. And it's a very odd name. But my mother passed when I was 7 years old. My maternal mother. My father died when I was married. But he had, they were together, and he had another family, and he lived in Cleveland. And I didn't realize that he was that close to me. So I really didn't meet him until I was about 11 or 12 years old. And so then I found out I had other brothers and sisters, about 6 of them. A full house.
So blended families aren't new. People think they knew, they're not new.
No.
I mean, there's nothing new under the sun, and just because we didn't, it wasn't as open as it is today.
Right.
Right. Yes.
But people have been having kids, and folks been raising people's kids for a very, very long
Very
time.
long time, yes. Because a
That's why
great
you
aunt
can't.
raised me.
What was her name?
Octavia Spoonie.
And and Mr. Gilliam's parents, what were their names?
That was Rufus and Valley Gilliam. And they
So I want to
lived
get.
Kobe.
on Colby Street. Well, actually, they lived on Andrews Avenue, for years in Youngstown. Then they built a house. They were a progressive couple, also. They built a house on Colby Street, which now Mr. Locke Beecham and his wife live in.
Wow.
And Colby Street is off of McGuffey, right there where that fire station is. They built it new. And they had some problems when they first built that house. They were in the news because it was basically, a white neighborhood at that time. And they were having trouble with people throwing rocks. Different things were happening. They're sending a bullet through the mail. When they found out when they sent the bullet through the mail and the FBI got involved, then they stopped.
Talk about growing up a little bit before and being Black in Youngstown and being an African American in Youngstown, because things are not like they used to be. Things are changing everywhere, but we need to know that you guys have endured some things that we don't have to endure anymore.
Right. Right.
You know,
And
when Mr. Gilliam went for a bond, when he had a construction company and he went to bid, he didn't have access to insurances and help through the state process.
no.
They made it worse than voting.
Right.
If you think
Yeah.
trying to vote was hard in the South, trying to get through the business process of the bidding process at that time for any business that didn't have lawyers and lots of people backing them, it was unbelievable. You couldn't make it happen.
Right. And also getting loans from banks in order for you to work. You
Even
know,
with great credit.
you needed income. Yeah, you needed income in order to do, jobs, until you can get your first payment, in order to keep going. So things were tough, then.
And I wanted to bring that up because we need to understand things were tough. People don't always pay their bills.
Right.
You get a big contract and people would get stuck with some of the heavy weight and they would go bankrupt and things would go upside down.
Right.
And you didn't have classes to teach you how to manage money for business and scale business. And set aside taxes. You didn't have all those mentorships programs and people around at the time that the Gilliams were trying to put a stakehold in a lot of industries.
Right. Right. But you know what? Artists always had. He always looked at blacks that were progressing and doing, their thing, as he called it, like Mr. Watkins construction.
Hmm.
You remember the Watkins, don't you?
I know the
And
name. I don't remember them.
right, he had a construct. He built. Matter of fact, he built the Elks building,
Oh,
Buckeye
wow.
Elks. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lived on McGuffey. Um, Also, Mr. Stallworth. All those homes around Kenneth and Bott Street. A lot of those homes Mr. Stallworth built. And
And
he always looked up to them, and he saw what they did, and he says, I can do it too. He sure would try it. That's for sure.
Dad also had an insurance company.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I could probably name 1,000
Yeah.
things.
Mrs.
Yeah.
Gilliam, how as being when he come home and he'd have these wild ideas,
Mhm.
what were your thoughts at the time? I mean, what were you? What I mean, seriously, because you got these 4 miles looking at you,
Oh, absolutely.
and here goes, well, Bill Hickok. He's on another tangent.
Right, right. Let me try this. Yeah, he was always on something,
How?
and if it felt like it was real, and we could do it, and we could see a way, to try it. We try it. Now there were some things that I was like, oh no, we're not doing that. I said, like you said, we have 4 mouths to feed, and I was like, we'll be sunk, in no time, and we just can't do that, And he didn't like it, because he was always, one to feel like this is going to work, and
You know,
it's going to try it.
So mom is a little modest, but yeah,
I
she's
think.
very modest, to be honest with you. But not only, they did that. Mom also, I didn't know this until later on, way later on in life, that mom also used to have a real estate license. Um, both of them worked at Delphi. Dad was a supervisor at Delphi. At that time, it was called Packard. Mom worked there until she retired, but they worked us to death.
So Adrian, so let me get this right. Let me make sure I got all this right. Because I remember this. They were working at Packard
Yes,
and they were having businesses
yes,
all at the same
all
time.
at the same time. Yes,
And because because I found out whoever Mr. Gilliam hired, he recruited, and if he kept you, everybody worked.
right.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
You always, I mean, you always said whether he paid you or not, there was a there was a job there for you.
Yes, yes, yes. And we just needed to know about child labor laws back then. Because I always tell people, 'cause everybody think we had it so easy, and I'm like, while you guys were outside playing, we were working in the office. My brothers were helping with the construction.
That is
We
very,
weren't allowed to leave the house until 4:30, about 4:30.
and that was in the summertime because that was
Right.
work hours.
And we woke up first thing in the morning. The sleep in was 9 o'clock for us.
And, I'm laughing.
That
This
was
is I can attest to, because as a young person, I was a young lady that had the opportunity to be around the kids and the family. That's if you were friends with the Gilliams, you were recruited too.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
gonna work.
absolutely, absolutely.
Any and all of our friends had to work. That's why we didn't have a lot of visitors. You were coming to work.
So I got to go over to your public life. Mr. Gilliam won for city council, and he was a pistol.
Hmm.
And a lot of times people don't really get to know who they are. And I don't think people really got to know who Mr. Gilliam was and what he was really about
Hmm.
and how much heart he had for the people and for the city. Because as big as he wanted his businesses to be, it's as big as he wanted the city to be.
Right.
Yes.
So if you think he wanted to be Record Rendezvous and you was sitting on the corner of Pearl Street, I wanted you to know he wanted Youngstown to be the capital of America.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Tell us about the dream of Youngstown and the view from the Gilliams site, because not only did he do multiple years, but then you came in and did multiple years, and you superseded him in my ability in my view back. The reason why I say that is because he was one thing and you were a whole nother beast.
Right. And actually, we actually worked together. You know.
No, really?
Oh yeah, on it. Because actually, when he became council person, they had council aides then. And so
Mhm.
I always said, because they had a big thing, they would always be complaining. People would complain the aides are getting paid and they're not doing anything. And I always, well, anything that Arts did, I would always help, And so I said, well, I'm council aide. I'm going to work. So people would call, and I would help them, because actually people don't realize that they think a lot of times when they get into council, they only do because certain things make the laws, and because some of these council people now, they thought that those were the things that their job is, which it is, but you need to take care of your people in your wards, their complaints. And we did not like, neither one of us did not like people being ignored, by city when they call downtown and they don't pay attention to them. They have a complaint, they've been complaining forever and nobody's doing anything, so that was a big priority of ours. And and we really worked at it. He worked at it, and I was in that background working at it too, And I like helping people, because people would call and they said, "Well, you probably can't help me," but I was like, "Well, let's see what you got," and we're gonna go from there. And a lot of things we took care of, and a lot of times people didn't feel special, or they didn't feel prioritized. Some did, you had some people that were there. I'm not going to be ignored. That's all there is to it. But and I liked giving them that power, to feel special, to feel uh,
Same.
seen. Yes, to be seen, not ignored.
What
And
was it? What was it like being a councilwoman? Because remember, you became a councilwoman when there had only been a few councilwomen before you. And as far as Black councilwoman, I believe who Darlene Rogers
Right.
and you. I don't know. I don't remember too many other women,
I can't
especially
remember.
Black women that came before you.
Right. Right.
And you
And
coming in, and then I don't know how many tag team husband wife duos
right.
came in at. So what was it like for you being a Black woman as the first ward councilman coming in after Artis Gilliam, especially when Youngstown was changing?
Um, it was good. Because I knew a lot of the work because of Artis being a council person, and by him being involved, and he was always involved in everything. He was on the heart board and cancer board and you name it, the symphony board, you name it, he was on it. And a lot of things that when he couldn't be there, for a lot of meetings or whatever, I would go to them, so I could report back to him. Even when we went to our conferences, he would be in. We go through that book and see what would be good for Youngstown, and he would be at one meeting, and session, and I would go to another session, and we'd just say what was good about it. So it was easy for me to come behind him, because I knew a lot of it, except for being down there in that seat. I knew a lot of the work. I knew a lot of the workers, already, and I knew a lot of the problems, there was. I just wish we had money to work with, like some of these that had, that do now, that we had the kind of money to work with. But we managed to do some do some things, and he was good at moving stuff along. The Covelli Center, wouldn't be there
That's
if it
correct.
wasn't for him fighting,
taking on.
for it, and him and Jim taking the heat, and then Jim had moved to
It's Jim Fortune. So the people,
president of
yes,
he had moved to president of council, so Artis was left there, holding that ship up, and he pushed that Covelli Center would not be there if it wasn't for him and them, Jim Fortune, and
and that
and Clarence Bowles, because Clarence Bowles gave a vote in city council that moved it forward to it. It didn't die, so I have to give them their prompts too. So it took effort, but he was suffering, behind that, because he was not going to let it go. Yeah, and it
and,
has been a success.
and it has been Jim Fortune, um, Jennings,
Right,
the Gilliams, they all played, and I've ran against them. I have not always agreed with them, but the footing and the work that they put in to make things the foundation is what you see laid down today.
right,
There's a lot of foundation, bigger than the Covelli Center, bigger than what you see that these young men at that time. Clarence Bowles, I'm
right,
glad you brought him up because he was a force.
right.
And those Black men, even though they may not have been as loud together as they could have been and should have been, they made a lot of things happen positively in this city for a lot of people who live here today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
And I don't want
yeah.
them to go. I'm glad you
We'll
brought
miss.
that up because I don't want them. I don't want these people to go away and
Mm-hmm.
their names not be heard
Right, right.
because they are
Yeah.
our Black history.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And
Um,
we need young, people to fight, like they should, because things are happening that don't look good, and we need them to get out and and I see some movement, toward that, now. But they need to get out there and keep the force going, because we have come a long ways. And I think sometimes that might be part of our problem. We think that it's always been like that. The younger people think it's always been like that, but it hasn't. And we've come a long ways, and that things that they never saw, that we had to go through, and they don't have to go through, but they can keep it moving. You know, you got to keep it moving.
Mrs. Gilliam, what is your greatest accomplishment besides those 4 children that you had? See, I'm not gonna let you get. I'm not just gonna let you escape with that one. See, I cut that out really at
I,
the top of the list.
I say, I say marriage and 4 children.
See, that
Yeah,
no,
and
no, that can't. I know that's your top.
and you know what, and it's like this job right now. I'm going to work until Artis always said he was going to work until he died, and he did. And I guess I'm going to work until I die. It's going to be my legacy. But he fought for this business. He worked hard for it, and uh, so in just keeping it going, my girls are doing, and my son Arnold are doing a very good job. All of us are working, at it to keep it going and trying to help some young people change their lives. Because you really don't realize how some people are living and the problems that some people are having until you are directly involved, in some of the situations that we see.
It'll
And
blow your mind.
yes, absolutely. And to see and to help some people do better and live a better life. And the saying, if you don't help but one, which we've helped more than one, at least we've helped that one. Yes.
Well, I know you've helped me.
No, well, thank you. Good.
I I have to be careful because I've been trying to be a Gilliam all my life. Because Artis Jr. was my friend.
Uh-huh.
And you raised a remarkable man who was my friend before I left for Los Angeles. And I never got a chance to tell him how great of a man he was as a friend.
Hmm.
And then there's your next son. Arnold
Right.
is all Arnold. He's always been Arnold, always going to be Arnold. And
Right.
I love Arnold for who Arnold is.
Right. Right. That was my problem. You always have one,
That ain't
but
the one. No, he's the glamour child. That is the dude. Don't mess with Arnold. That's my
but
boy.
I have to give him his prompts, and he says that thank God that Dad saw me change, before he left, and
Listen,
uh, and he's doing great. You know.
he is amazing. And
Yes.
then the 2 girls.
Yes.
And again, what comes on the inside. If you raise a child up in the way that you would have for them to go, when
Hmm.
they're old, they won't part from it.
Yeah, and
And
that's what we felt.
that's what you guys have exhibited.
Right.
And if nothing else, you guys built a house of love, a
Right.
community that you loved, and we love you.
Thank you. It's all we
Any
want.
any closing thoughts? Anything that I should have asked you that I didn't ask?
Hmm. Not well. Maybe what do I see? In the future of Youngstown.
Sorry.
Um, I just see, in Youngstown's future, I would like to see people stop the division and really, people always say come together, but really come together. There was a time when people in this city really worked, to change things. I tell my grandson comes by, for breakfast, and we talk Black history, and history of Youngstown, and how Jewish people walk with Black people. I said, he's telling me about some Jewish friends, and I said, there was a time when Black people had a problem, Jewish people had a problem. Jewish people had a problem, Black people had a problem, and we have basically Black people have, I don't care what color they are, when people have a problem, they just see the right and wrong of it,
At one time.
because of all of the things that we've dealt with it, we can see the right and wrong, of it. I don't care what color they are. And we need to get back, to that so we can progress. There's no reason why anybody should be afraid of somebody progressing. Everybody should want people to do better and their city to be better so that we can have a great place to live in, a great country to live in.
Because I think we're better than this. What we're doing right
Oh,
now is crazy.
absolutely. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
For
It's
me,
just stupid.
for
Yes.
me, Tracy, I'm just happy to have been raised by two wonderful people.
Can
Who
I got a
we
question for
always
you.
go
I got a
ahead.
question for you. What was it like being raised? I always saw
Well,
what was
she,
outside the
she was
house,
just getting
and
ready
then
to
I
say,
become
I
visit.
tell you,
I come visit the house. But what was it like being raised with like Mighty Mouse and a sidekick?
well, I always call them what did I used to Superman and Wonder
Superman.
Woman.
What was
So
I mean? Because you gotta
I was
understand, there was
always
a lot going on, and I obeyed Mr. Gilliam, and he wasn't my daddy.
yeah, I
So
mean because they were determined. Why I always call them Superman and Wonder Woman because no matter what happened in this neighborhood or any neighborhood around them, they were going to protect whoever was around them, which always used to make us nervous because we're like, look, you're our parents. Look, let them deal with whatever the issue is. So it always made us nervous. But I would say, and we always tease them. We always did tease them about how strict they were and how hard we had to work. But it gave us good work ethic. It made sure that we were going to make sure that any job that we do it right, and that we continue to do it. Uh, but and it's also because my sister and I always laugh because well, really, we grew up on a street where it was only three kids, and me and my sister were the two because my brothers were a little older than we were. So it worked us so hard, we would put a nap into our playtime, where most kids was fighting naps. We was trying to get one.
but you know what? I'll say this: they commanded a respect.
Yes, they
Hmm.
did. Yes,
They
they
did.
did.
Again, your mom. When I was coming up, I didn't know she talked because she
Oh
Oh,
was
yeah.
a woman of very, very few words.
yeah. To you
She
guys.
was.
Yeah. A lot of people said that, but I never saw
Yeah.
myself like that. But a lot of
No,
people said that.
because
I didn't know
to us,
I didn't even know she had a
dad
voice.
we wanted my sister and I wanted dad to discipline us over mom because dad was a lot softer on the girls,
Oh, I
you know.
believe that. I believe
And
that.
I tease my husband to this day, and I'm like, you got to step it up because I never had to worry about like my dad was my first call for years. If my car stopped for about 15, 20 years, I called my dad first. And then my dad kept saying, you have to call your husband. And he said, I'm going to be, you make sure you call me, but I don't want him to feel left out. So, and I'm like, well, he got to understand. I'm calling my dad. So,
But you
I
gotta
mean, but
understand who the dad was. He
I
was
did, yeah.
if you knew Artis Gilliam,
Mm-hmm.
and you hear us laughing, but if you knew the personality, he was the mechanic. He was the go to, and he
Mm-hmm.
liked being the go to because,
Mm-hmm.
and if you got to him, it was like being safe.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. And
If
I always
there
knew,
are some people that you got a dime. You get one phone call.
yeah,
There are some people you know not to call,
right.
relative or not.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some people that you know that if you get a phone call, one phone call, and if you can get the Artist Gilliam,
Mm-hmm.
you got a
Mm-hmm.
person that you can get to
You
because
do.
he's gonna try to fix it, help you out one way or another. Now, if
Mm-hmm.
you have kids and you call them from jail, that's why they got bars.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Right. Well, good, Tracy. I'm glad you said that. Because when he passed, and you know, it took me 2 years to say those words. Still hurts.
Mhm.
Uh, but I told his cousin, I said, there's going to be an awful lot of people that are going to miss Artis
Oh yeah.
because he would fight for them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. There are
Like you
people that
said,
come across that come across you, and if you can get the artist, you know you were safe.
that's right. That's
Mhm.
right. One call, and he didn't care if he's a council person. If it was working against if it was against the mayor, he felt like the mayor did something wrong. He was going to come after him. He did not care. That's just the kind of
No,
person he was. He was just on it. You know, you did.
Mr. Gilliam, he
He
didn't
was.
stand but about 5 foot, what, 5'4",
Oh,
5'5".
absolutely. A lady told
But
him one day.
his stilt was high.
Right, Tracy, a lady told him one day when she met him, she said, "Oh, you're Artis Gilliam." She said, "Boy, I thought you were about 7 feet tall."
Because he thought he was 7 foot tall. Why are you playing?
Well, he was, may not have been stature, but he was in personality, love, and everything else.
Oh,
But yeah,
absolutely.
and that's for us as
Yes.
his children.
Yeah.
We always knew that we were loved. Always felt love. And even far as the business that we have now, that was one of his things. Every child should feel loved.
Right.
You know, no matter how bad things would get, how much they would get on our nerves, he was like, you know, we still have to make sure that they feel the love that every child should have. You know, and still to this day, I hear different TV shows and they'll talk about a group home. Oh, they grew up in a group home, and I'm like, our group home is like a family-oriented group home because we try to treat the kids as much like family as we
As
can.
possible.
You know, but it's just the fact that dad and mom, like I said, mom was a serious disciplinarian, and everybody knows that dad was. But we grew up, and you had to be tough to grow up in this house.
We had
You
standards.
had to be outspoken because if you weren't, you know, you were going to learn sooner or later that you have to speak up. Now, mind you, you didn't speak up, but so much to my parents.
No, we
You had
no,
to
no.
have it in a good setting. But I was talking to TJ Rogers' wife, and for some reason her name is escaping me for a second. But when I was talking to her one day, and I was telling the difference of me raising my children and me the way I was raised, I said, so now I look back at certain things and say, wow, I wish I did it that way. And while you know, you're thinking, oh, my parents were so strict, but there's certain things you look at and say, now I understand why. You know, and if I could
I
go
think
back,
we're learning that, Adrian. I think we are. I think we're getting
yeah.
it. And why I'm doing these interviews now, and I'm hoping that as you pass these along and people pass these to their friends and their family to watch,
Mm-hmm.
they understand that they need to sit down with the older generation and learn.
Yes, yes,
There's
and
reasons why they did things, even if we don't understand why they did them in the time.
yes. And I tell
And
you, another
sitting,
thing people need to learn to do is sit down to dinner together because that
yeah,
makes a big difference.
Yeah.
A
talking,
big difference.
put the
That
phone down.
yes, yes. Sit
Put the
down to
phone down.
dinner with your
Do
family. Yes,
breakfast if you can't do any
yes,
meal, any breakfast,
yes.
lunch, what Sunday
Mm-hmm,
dinner between your cousins, and
mm-hmm,
knowing you're not going to be able to control them. Every person has their own personality and their own way of getting things done, and you may not understand who they are, because all of us are weird to everyone else.
mm-hmm,
Right.
But that doesn't mean that I don't love you and you're not mine.
mm-hmm.
I may not understand you,
Right.
but you're still mine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I will say that the Gilliams have always allowed all of us to be is ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But we had to respect. They held us to a standard, but they never judged us.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That says something. Now you can't go crazy around them because they'll put you in your place. But
Yes.
but they're gonna let you be who you are. They're
Yes.
not gonna judge you.
Oh
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. God bless you. I love all of you, the whole Gilliam family. You guys have been so precious and so dear to my heart. So there's Annie and Artis Gilliam. There's Artis and Arnold Gilliam. And there's Adrian and
Andrea.
Andrea Gilliam. And see, Andrea is missing,
Yeah.
but we love her. And
Yeah.
then you guys have children, and you're married, and they are.
Mm-hmm.
With their names.
I have my husband's name is Rodney Davis, and I have 3 children: Rodney Jr., Andre, and Denzel. And I
Okay.
have 4 grandchildren, which is Andre, Amira, and Alina.
2 twins.
I have twins. The 2 girls are a set of twins, identical twins. Now my sister has 1 child, which her name is Alexis. She doesn't have any children. Arnold has 2 children. His is Tamika and Arnold. Now Tamika and Arnold have now don't God.
This is a test.
Because Tamika and Arnold's kids
They have a blended family.
They have a
It's quite
blended
few
family,
of them,
and then Artis has 1 child, which his is Artis. Artis is the 3rd, and then Artis has a child, which is Artis the 4th, and
Wow.
Mariah and Gianni.
Right.
Gianna.
So they
Yeah. So
3 grandchildren.
Wow.
So now Tamika's kids is I think it's Armani. Now you're testing me. Marquise and Talia. Arnold's kids are gosh.
Oh, yeah.
A lot. Aaliyah. Oh gosh, I forgot. Don't even. Oh yeah, we can have.
Listen, after a while, it just becomes like you.
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
I'm your auntie. And then they all look alike. And then,
Yeah.
so, it's just family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we
What
do
a
have
forest.
Yes, we have a strong
Forest.
bloodline. Yeah, because you can tell all the kids who they are.
We look at pictures of our kids, and we see their grandchildren, my grandchildren, in their
Mhm.
pictures.
Yes.
Yeah. We
I'm
think,
sure
matter of
you
fact, we
do.
think that this them.
And I'm quite sure you see Mr. Gilliam in all of them.
And all of
and
yes.
yeah.
There's a thread of artists through all of every last one, girls and boys. They'd be like, ooh,
Right.
there's Grandpa right there.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. He thought every
God bless
last
you.
one of them looked like him.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for saying yes.
You're welcome.
We extend our heartfelt gratitude to each viewer who has joined us on this journey through You Are History. Suppose you have found inspiration, insight, and connection in the stories shared by our remarkable guests. In that case, we invite you to consider supporting the continuation of community programming like this through a donation. Your contribution will help us amplify diverse voices, celebrate rich histories, and foster meaningful dialogue that uplifts and unites us all. We also extend a special thank you to our sponsors, whose generous support has made this series possible. May You Are History continue to resonate in your hearts and minds, inspiring you to embrace the beauty of diversity and the power of unity. Thank you for being a part of this transformative journey, and we look forward to welcoming you back for more engaging and enlightening content in the future. Don't forget to like and share this video, subscribe to this channel, and give God the glory.